Hey everybody, KC here. So there was a story in Fast Company the other day that the headline immediately grabbed my attention. Headline went like this: Disney World is hell on earth. I had to read that. And here's part of what it said. In the era of global warming, Disney is dangerously sweltering during the summer, and its 1960s infrastructure does little to mitigate this. Its digital app, used for everything from your room key to skipping long lines, can easily go awry and requires parents to start each day with a trauma akin to buying Taylor Swift tickets. And it's all made worse by the fact that Disney is increasingly a ghost town, staffed by fewer employees to make moments magical, many of whom, quite understandably, don't seem to be so happy working there in the first place. This isn't the happiest place on earth. The story goes on. I signed up for a Disney World trip knowing full well that I was going to donate half my 401k to CEO Bob Iger's second yacht. By the way, that's a really funny line. What I didn't expect was that so much about Disney's park experience is just plain miserable. That a world built for wonder, operated by a company that made nearly $30 billion last year and $2.2 billion last quarter on parks alone, would so often feel like it resented my presence. Now, I've written about this here on Morning News before, right? Now, these days, a budget trip to Disney for a family of four costs more than $4,500. And the problem that I think Disney is facing is that the middle class, right, or even the lower end maybe of the upper middle class, they're increasingly going to be unable to afford to go to Disney, or they're going to have to take out a second mortgage to do it. They're going to be able to do it once. And I think what this means is that Disney is going to be increasingly disenfranchising its core customer base, and that is going to be a problem long term. You know, they said one of the things that the story says is that heat is a problem for all theme parks, right? As the globe warms, theme parks, often in warm weather areas, they're going to be really suffering. A quote from the story. At Disney, there's a high concentration of materials known to retain warmth, namely concrete and asphalt, topped with all sorts of equipment for stores, rides, and refreshments that also generate heat. The large blacktop parking lot outside this park likely contributes to visitor discomfort as well. One of the other things the story talks about is that Genie Plus, which used to be FastPass, is glitchy and doesn't even cover all the rides. Sometimes you have to use other systems to get onto certain kinds of rides. Plus, it's structured so that when people should be looking up at the Magic Kingdom, they're actually looking on their phones trying to navigate and figure out where they have to go. That's a problem. There's a story in the piece about how, it used to be that when new employees would come there, there'd be orientation, and Mickey Mouse would come in the room and make sure every person got handed individually, right, their little badge. It was kitschy, but it was a big deal. Now Mickey comes in, gives a wave, and kind of moves on. They're not paying attention to the little things. Again, another story here. Disney's the rare company that has complete control of its physical and digital spaces. You won't find another operation in the U.S. that can guide every touch point of a consumer experience like Disney can, from choosing the sheets that you wake up on, to providing the transportation to the park, to launching you on a laser bike through the sky at a mind-numbing speed. Plus, it has some of the most beloved characters in cinematic history to keep you entertained along the way. But right now, because, listen, and they have staffing problems too, there are fewer characters wandering around Disney. And the ones that are there, they're often guards to make sure you can't get too close. Sometimes you don't see characters. You have to go to a special lunch to see the character, interact with them, and that costs even more money. The problem, bottom line problem, at least according to the Fast Company article, which interviewed a lot of people who used to work at Disney in a lot of different roles, is that they seem to be trying to maximize revenue by minimizing bodies. And that's really a recipe for decline. To me, it sounds like they're getting complacent, right? They're Disney. What could possibly go wrong? Well, in a lot of ways, they're violating what I like to call the Norman Rain rule, right? A reputation is what you had yesterday. Today, you have to earn it all over again. Listen, it's not just this article. I have a friend of mine who recently took his grandchildren to Disney, and he had very much the same kind of experience that's described in this Fast Company article. I sent it to him, and he came back to me and said, oh my God, he was describing the experience that we had. And he said to me, I'd never, ever do it again. And this is a guy who's a big fan of Disney. In fact, this fella and I, Rich Davis, he and I went to Disney during our senior year of high school during Easter break. We went there. It was just months after Disney had opened. He loved Disney. Totally would go there all the time. He used to take his kids there go all the time. He has no interest in ever doing it again. Listen, this is an object lesson for retailers as far as I'm concerned. You have to keep your customers in mind. You have to control the customer experience as much as possible in a positive way, and be careful that you are true to the core values that got you to where you are. You have to nurture that reputation every day. You can't be complacent, because here's the deal. If this kind of stuff can happen at Disney, it can happen to anyone. Anyway, that's what's on my mind this morning. And as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.